Electric planes hold a lot of promises, from commuting in air taxis to making regional flights more affordable and long-haul flights more environmentally friendly. According to Bob Budick, Vice President of Power Systems for Honeywell Aerospace, more than 200 startups are currently working on developing some type of electric aircraft. So, as electric cars gain popularity, why are planes lagging so far behind? There are some electric planes that have completed their test flights, but the focus is on hybrid planes with higher capacity for long-distance flights. This is because batteries are still much heavier and less efficient than jet fuel, and the heavy regulation that surrounds air travel requires time to catch up. NASA and FAA are working together to develop certification standards and make the electric flight a reality. Until then, companies like Uber are collaborating with electric flight startups to test air taxis and vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. In this video, we will talk about why we don't have any electric planes in the air yet. So let's get started. Lithium-ion batteries are not good for aeroplanes. A few years ago, while driving on an interstate between Pittsburgh and San Francisco, Venkat Viswanathan began to have existential concerns. His journey was going well, almost too well, he thought. He'd hum along for a few hundred miles at a time, only stopping for meals or to take in the early summer scenery. It was the stereotypical great American road trip, and the fact that he was doing it in an electric car was hardly noteworthy. Viswanathan, a scientist at Carnegie Mellon University, specializes in high-energy density batteries, which are designed to pack a lot of juice into a small amount of space. This involves chemistry that can feel almost fanciful at times, the unobtainium of battery technology. But after being propelled cross-country by a completely accessible battery that summer, he began to consider a different application for his work. I was thinking to myself, wait, what am I going to do with all these new batteries I'm inventing? Viswanathan reflects. Who will require them? He realized that there was another way to travel from coast to coast, one that batteries were far from decarbonizing: flight. The battery industry was largely focused on cars in recent years, yielding steady, incremental improvements to a specific scientific approach. This involves lithium ions moving between a cathode made of a few metal oxides, including nickel, cobalt, manganese, and iron, and a graphite anode. This tried-and-true recipe has improved over time. Recently, lithium-ion batteries have increased the range of passenger cars to over 400 miles, which is comparable to many combustion engines and sufficient to overcome the range anxiety that may make some drivers hesitant to go electric. However, as they approach the theoretical limit of how much energy they can store, lithium-ion batteries fall short of what most aircraft require. Battery with single life won't work for aeroplane. Two French Army officers experimented with electricity to propel an airship in the late 1800s, but they ran into problems when the battery simply couldn't hold enough energy. This is an ongoing issue, even after 200 years. The first flight with an electric motor took off when nickel-cadmium batteries were invented, but it only lasted less than 15 minutes. Then, lithium-ion batteries were invented in the 1980s. They could store more energy than ever before, allowing planes like the Solar Impulse 2 to be developed. The principle of space and weight saving applies to planes when flying long distances. However, a single-life battery will not suffice for a plane that must be recharged after each leg. Researchers in the lab have had some success reversing those conversion reactions, but they have run into other problems. One of the most advanced contenders is the lithium-sulfur battery, which is highly desirable due to the low cost and abundance of sulfur. The problem is that unwanted reactions between the sulfate at the anode and electrolyte can occur. This can lead to chemical buildup, reducing the battery's ability to recharge over time. Those reactions can sometimes result in the formation of a dendrite, which is a vein of material in the electrolyte that gradually extends and may eventually connect the anode and the cathode, resulting in a short circuit and a fire. In 2015, the solar-powered aircraft flew around the world for 16 months at an average speed of 28 to 34 miles per hour. Solar Impulse 2 is part of a movement to develop alternative energies, particularly as people and governments become aware of how bad flying is for the environment. In 2019, the aviation industry emitted approximately 1 billion tons of CO2. This equates to about 2.5% of global emissions. That may not appear to be much, but it is nearly as much as the entire continent of South America emits in a year. What do scientists and experts think about electric planes? Kevin Noertker: "We need to make changes to the industry, and clarification is one of the big trends that will hopefully reduce that burden." Electric planes have been in heated discussions for a while, but there are two big reasons why they are keeping electricity grounded. First of all, the technology is not that ready yet. Secondly, when you're trying to take off an electric plane, you need a battery that has a lot of power. Batteries. So why can we not have such batteries? According to Carolina Anderson, batteries are not as efficient as gas, and there are no good chances that they will be in a while. The efficiency of a battery or its ability to hold power is measured in specific energy. Even the best batteries currently have a specific energy of only 250 watt-hours per kilogram. But we need to get closer to 800 to really start flying, which is still nothing compared to jet fuel's specific energy of nearly 12,000 watt-hours per kilogram. Consider it like one of those 1980s computers. They were massive, but not nearly as powerful as the sleek ones we have today. Batteries are currently comparable to those from 1980 computers. They are not as powerful as they should be, and they're not only big, but also heavy. So if you want to add more power to your plane, you need to get a bigger battery, and if you add a bigger battery, then it would increase the weight, right? So it's a loop then. Even if engineers are successful in making a plane and a battery with the perfect ratio, then there is another hurdle waiting for them. Yes, certification. In the United States, this entails obtaining approval from the Federal Aviation Administration to test and fly an electric plane. Companies must demonstrate that every part of their aircraft is safe by passing a series of tests, one of which is to ensure that the battery cells do not catch fire. Roy Ganzarski says that if something goes wrong, you can't stop. You can't pull to the side of the road. There's only one place for that airplane to go. And so the regulatory stringency is much higher. The requirements for reliability, redundancy, and safety are much higher for a good reason. You have no alternative. The electric propulsion systems in aeroplanes are made for 19 passengers, as stated by the amended rules of the FAA. The real issue, however, is that certification takes years, even with these amendments, so businesses have gotten creative. They've started retrofitting old planes to get them certified faster. But how are they doing it? Is it possible to convert an old plane into an electric plane? Well, not entirely, but Ganzarski says that you're taking out the entire old, gas-guzzling, emission-creating engine and its fuel system and replacing that space and weight with an electric propulsion system. Retrofitting has occurred in stages. The first phase was provided by the Slovenian company Pipistrel. By putting an electric engine in a glider, it created the world's first all-electric two-seater plane in 2007. Glider planes were successful because they were safe even without functioning engines, so there was no one at risk there. Today, these planes are used for training. A hybrid. Various companies have tried hybrid aeroplanes also. An electric engine replaced one of two engines in a 1973 Cessna with an electric engine. Ampere hopes to have its new electric eel plane certified for commercial flights in the near future. Finally, in Vancouver, Magni X, an electric motor manufacturer, and Harbour Air, a Vancouver-based airline, flew a retrofitted 62-year-old plane. It became the world's first all-electric commercial plane to fly after a 15-minute test flight in December 2019. It demonstrated that electric vehicles could actually take off. The goal for the two companies is to electrify the rest of Harbour Air's fleet of more than 40 seaplanes and have them certified. So, this was it. Technology, as we know, is progressing every day. But from all these facts, it is now very clear that we cannot do everything with technology. There are many things that demand extreme precision and hard work, and electric planes are one of such things. Do you think that we will be able to ride an electric airplane by 2030? Share your thoughts in the comments. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do.